Hello, bookaholics. It looks like another legal eagle has bitten the dust and succumbed to the writing profession. First, there was John Grisham, and now there's Reyna Marder Gentin. Well, we'll talk to her about her enormous transition from being an attorney to becoming a writer, among other things. Stay tuned. Hi, Raina.
How are you? Nice to see
I'm
you.
doing well. So, how's it been going lately?
Everything's going well, thanks.
Good, 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 good. Well, like I told the audience, you were a legal eagle, educated at Yale, undergrad and grad, and you threw all of it away.
Oh, wow. You sound like probably what my parents would be thinking if they were
I,
alive.
I was
Luckily, I
thinking,
haven't
what would
seen
they have they say?
They probably wouldn't be too happy with the whole thing, but okay.
But yeah, so just wanted to talk to you initially about how did you make that big transition? Becoming an attorney is a large investment on the mind, on the pocketbook, and you put yourself into it. And I know a lot of my friends want to be partners or have become partners, and all of these different things. And But then you moved on. So what type of attorney were you, first of all, to clarify?
So I was doing criminal appeals in a public defender's office. So I was representing people that had already been convicted of felony offenses in New York, and we were trying to get their convictions either reversed or get them a new trial. Uh,
Hmm.
And, I guess I don't feel like I threw it in because I did it for such a long time. I kind of feel
Yeah.
like this is chapter 2 of what I've
Yeah.
been doing. I mean, I practiced law for 23 years, so I don't feel like I made a bad investment on my legal career and then just kind of
Right.
tossed it. So,
Right. I was just kind of teasing you,
uh,
but yeah, I can understand how that may have been very stressful. And some days I'm sure you guys had your good days, but it would seem like that was very stressful.
it was a very intense job. I mean, in some ways, it was kind of academic because we were mostly dealing with the record below. We weren't really seeing, I didn't really meet my clients. It wasn't like I was
Oh,
on trial with them. These were appeals. So everything that we had to deal with had to be things that had come out at the trial. So
right.
it was a lot of reading and a lot of research and a lot of writing.
Mhm.
So it wasn't stressful in that way, but it was
Okay.
stressful. It was stressful because you knew what you were trying to do, right? I mean, you're
Right.
trying to help
Right.
these people, which was
Right.
good, but you were
Right.
also trying to undo something that had happened that maybe, shouldn't have been undone. I mean, maybe it was okay that they had been convicted. So it was
Right.
hard. It was definitely hard.
Right. Right. Well, as you went along that path, and one day you were doing the research and the writing of an appeal, what made you say, okay, I am going to call it a day and do writing? How did that all transpire?
Yeah, I kind of hit the wall at some point. I mean, it's very much like telling a story. You're talking about these people, you're talking about what they've done and trying to frame them in some kind of positive way so that
Right.
the judges can look at them and say maybe this guy deserves a second chance. And
Mm.
some of the cases I had right at the end of when I couldn't do it anymore were just really hard to come up with something to say. And I thought
Yeah.
that I would be doing a disservice to the people that I was representing if I didn't have the same passion that I had had for it at the beginning of my career. So
Right.
I actually quit without having a goal in mind, without knowing what I was going to do next.
Hmm.
And a friend of mine asked me if I wanted to go to a writing class with her. And
Wow.
honestly, it all, kind of mushroomed from there. I had no kind of prior intention to write novels, to write anything really. I mean, I've
Right.
been writing for a long time, but it was a very
Right.
different kind of writing. And I went with her and things kind of took off from there.
Wow. And where did this writing class take place? Was it at the local community college or?
It was actually at a local university. There's a college here called Sarah Lawrence. You may have
Oh,
heard of it.
yes.
It's pretty
Yes.
well known, and it's very well known for its writing programs. And they
Oh,
have
yes.
actually a separate, what they call the Writing Institute, which is for people like me. It's not for credit. They're
Right.
paid classes, but they're taught by Sarah Lawrence professors. And it's really just for the love of it. No one is there
Wow.
pursuing a degree or anything. It's just to learn and really to make friends. I mean, I met so
Right.
many people through it and different writers, and now I kind of have a whole community that I never would have had before. So
Wow. Wow. Very fascinating. Maybe we'll put that in the show notes below just in case someone else might be interested in such a program. I didn't realize they had one.
mhm.
So you went to Sarah Lawrence and the this whole program, and then how did you come upon writing your first novel? And how long did it take?
Yeah, so I started going to classes there in 2014, I want to say.
Okay.
And I took this class with my friend, and it was actually a memoir writing class, and
Oh, okay.
which I thought was, laughable. I mean, I had no intention of writing a memoir. I don't live that kind of life. I didn't think I could even enjoy the class. But in fact, it was great. And what I found out was that it's really writing memoir, it can be about the big picture, the big life that you've led, or it can be about the small moments and the relationships that you've had with people and learning how to write those in a way that other people can relate to. And
Right.
I was in the class for a whole year. I wrote a lot about different people in my life and different episodes. And when I was finished, I kind of looked at that whole body of essays. Some of them I had published just as one-off kind of essays, but I
Right.
looked at them and I thought, maybe I could really make a novel out of this. And
Okay. Okay.
so the first novel was called Unreasonable Doubts, and it grew out of my job and the experiences that I had had. And it was based loosely around the facts of a case for somebody that I had represented. So, it had a lot of the structure kind of built in because I understood the law and I understood how the case had to progress. But I,
Mhm.
added a lot of stuff to make it more of a thriller and more of a romance than, I
Right.
had in my
Oh,
job. So, but,
got you. Got you. So it was a thriller and a romance.
yes, it's
Yes. And our protagonist.
the protagonist falls for a client. And he,
Oh, wow. That sounds fascinating.
it's fun.
Unreasonable doubt. Oh my goodness. Now I'm putting that together. Oh, that sounds good. And you've written a second novel as well, correct?
So I've actually written a second and a third. The second novel is a novel for children, which again grew out of a class that I took at Sarah Lawrence. It was about
Mhm.
writing for youth. I had nothing in my head when I went in there, and I just kind of each week tried to develop the story so that I had another chapter each week. And by the end, I had a pretty good draft. And the book is called My Name is Layla, and
Yes.
it's about a young girl, a 13-year-old girl who has undiagnosed dyslexia
Hmm.
amongst other issues, but that's her learning difference. But she has a lot on her plate, just personally as well, and kind of how she gets discovered by a teacher who recognizes her potential and how she almost ruins everything. And it follows along, but I think it's a book about resilience and about learning empathy and about understanding that other people have things going on in their lives that you can't
Yeah.
always see, and that
Right.
it's
Most definitely.
worth being kind, and trying to lend a hand when you can. So
Exactly. Well, is that a YA book or is that just a
actually
general?
it's a middle grade, what they call middle grade. So it's sort of, I don't know, 8 to 12, ages 8 to
Okay.
12, something like that.
Okay. Okay. And what made you pick, what made you frame a story around dyslexia? Did you have or someone you know and love have a problem with the dyslexia?
No, I ended up having to do quite a bit of research on it.
Yeah.
Although I've tried to be clear in interviews and everywhere else that I'm not an expert on it. But the reason that it appealed to me was that I was looking for something that could be so frustrating and so kind of damaging to a young person's self-esteem, but
Yeah.
not necessarily be so obvious, right? Like not,
Right.
it could be something that could kind of float below the radar because a lot of
Yeah.
kids with dyslexia compensate in other ways. They're often very out of the box thinkers. They're creative. They are,
Yeah.
some of them are either well behaved or go the other direction and are, have trouble with behavior. But a lot of the times their dyslexia kind of floats below the surface. And
Right,
I
right. I
just
can
thought that
see
was something to explore with the character and to see how she eventually kind of comes to terms with it and gets the help that she needs. So
right. So I'm taking it, she's a little bit prideful, maybe. Does she kind of doesn't trust some of the people that's around her?
definitely. And she's also, um, it's a single parent family, and she's not
Okay.
really always on her mother's radar screen the way she should be.
Okay.
Not that it's anybody's fault, but she's keeping the house together and she's working a
Right.
lot, and sometimes schoolwork, I guess, just kind of went by the wayside. So
Right.
yeah, so that's been great, and it's been just an interesting foray into a whole different market and trying to figure out how to reach kids and how to get into the
Yes.
schools, and it's just been different. So
Wow, wow. And then your third, is that published
yes,
or?
that just came out in October. um,
Oh, a new release.
yeah,
Okay.
October
And
5th. That's called Both Are True, and
okay.
it's for adults, and it's back to the law. It's kind of again a blend of love story and courtroom drama. It's about a family court judge and the guy that she falls for, and kind of how they split up and wind themselves back to each other and learn what family means and try to figure it out. So
Right, 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 right. Well, that sounds great as well. Now, so you've got these three books, you've got them published. Are you an independent publisher?
no, the first book I did with what they call a hybrid press, which
Okay.
is basically they do everything a regular press does, but
Mhm.
you do have to invest somewhat in it. You
Okay.
invest some of your own money in it, but they do everything else, and then in return, you get much higher royalties than you would get with a regular press. So that's how I did the first book, and it was published by a hybrid press called She Writes Press,
Oh,
which is really a wonderful publisher, and they publish women, which is their other thing. Like they're kind of trying to even the playing field a little bit.
okay.
And then the other two books are both with small independent presses.
Oh, okay. Okay. And that was called She Writes
She
Press.
Writes Press. Hmm.
Oh, okay. That's very interesting. That's something we might want to show to everybody down below. Also, I think that could help out a lot of people that there's somebody out there where you don't have to do all that research and find out how to do it yourself. And then, but it's kind of a hybrid type of thing, and you just can invest some money and they do all that technical stuff. That's
And
good.
they distribute. They have the distribution,
Oh,
which
and they have the distribution. Yes, yes,
a
yes,
big
yes.
help over the self-publishing where you kind of don't have any distribution. So
Right, exactly. Oh, yeah, that sounds really, really good. So you had a good experience doing that.
I did. I mean, it's also been great to be with these small presses that I'm with now. I'm actually
Mhm.
with two different ones. First of all, it's kind of a relief not to have to put the money in, which is nice.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
so that's been great. But they also, it's sometimes with the small press. I mean, look, it would be great to be with a big press. I would love for Random House to publish
Oh,
the next book. That would be fabulous. But
right.
it's different. It's difficult when you're somebody that's coming to this at a later age and a later stage in your life. And, I don't,
Mhm.
you know, I just am not willing to wait for a lot of the things that I might wait for if I were 25.
Right, right,
So,
exactly.
it's been good. And the small press model is nice in that you get to be kind of involved in ways that maybe you wouldn't be involved with a big press. Like you can help design your cover, you can help,
Yes,
you have more editorial say about what they do with the book.
right,
So I
right, right.
think that has its advantages.
Yes. Now, your small presses, are any of them out of North Carolina by any chance?
One is out of South Carolina. Does that
Oh,
count?
okay. Okay.
It's
Okay.
close.
Okay, yeah, very close. I graduated from UNC Chapel Hill, and I know there's a press there located in Chapel Hill, so I was just
Uh-huh.
interested. They usually select authors, that's got a little bit more. It's not the flashy, say like you were saying, Random House and
Right,
Simon and Schuster, Simon
right.
and Schuster. They publish, burgeoning authors or authors that's like, local to the region or something
Right.
like that. So I was just checking to make sure.
Yeah.
Now you just mentioned your age or your age range,
Mm.
and going back to what we were talking about earlier, a lot of people are so afraid, and you gave your example, but a lot of people are so afraid to put down their income, what was solidly their income, to pursue something that might have income, it's
Right.
a chancy income. Describe that and how you got through those feelings, and just taking this bold chance of going forward and pursuing something completely different.
Right. So, I mean, I think I was in the very fortunate position of being married to somebody who had a job he was not planning to leave his job. So
Right,
I don't,
right,
certainly we couldn't have both taken this chance at once.
right.
And also, to be honest, I was coming from a job in the public interest. I was not making a lot of money there either. So I
Mhm.
wasn't even contributing all that much financially to our situation to begin with. But
Right.
certainly, it's very hard to do. And it's, if you are, supporting your family, to make this kind of leap, I don't know how people do it. And a lot of people, I mean, this, a lot of people write in the off hours, right? I mean,
Yes.
they don't say, I'm going to not have this job and I'm going to devote
Right.
myself to writing. They're writing at, 6 in the morning, or they're writing
Yes.
at 11 o'clock at night. And
Yes.
hats off to them. I mean, it's hard. That's hard to do. It's
Yes.
certainly hard. I mean, I watch some of the younger people, in different Facebook groups or whatever that I'm in, who have small children at home, especially
Yes.
in this whole COVID thing. And,
Right. Right. Right.
I
Right.
can't imagine how they're getting it done. And,
Yes.
they are. And, for me, my kids are grown, nobody bothers me mostly during the day. So it's,
Right.
it's a whole different story. So I think it's all different considerations at different phases of your life. And, I
Yes.
was at a point where it was okay for me to do that. But, you know,
Yes. 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 Well, again, going back to, even though in just taking your situation and duplicating it, there's still not a lot of people that would just even, just would feel so unsure of themselves into doing something different. I see a lot of people just suffer in jobs, and this is not your case, suffer in jobs that they hate
right.
because they're so fearful of doing something different. Do you think that had to do a little bit, anything also with your age and, maturity level, possibly?
Maybe. I mean, I definitely, you do get to a certain point in your life where you don't want to continue doing something if it's not the right thing for you. And,
Right,
my job was the right thing for me for a long time. So
right,
I didn't feel like I was giving up on something that had a lot
right,
more potential. Like for me, it was kind of like, okay, I've done this now.
right,
I did a good job and I had a lot of good experiences and I made good friends and I made good contacts, but it's
right,
okay if I want to do something else. And,
right,
and this, what I've been doing has just been so, it can be frustrating at times. It can be lonely, but for the most part, like it's just been a wild adventure for me. I mean, just
yeah.
that I'm sitting here talking to you on on a podcast. Like, who would have thought? Like, I
Right,
never would have been doing something like that. Or I did a Facebook Live the other night. I didn't even know what a Facebook Live was. Like, somebody had to talk me through. This is the button you press and make sure you're watching for the questions. I had no idea what they were talking about, but you know what?
wow,
It's been fun and it's been
right,
different and it's, getting me out and it's been great. And, having people
cool.
read your book is like the most amazing feeling. I mean, it's scary,
Oh,
but it's
most
amazing.
definitely. Most definitely. Well, we all need variety. We all need to just explore and get all there is to get out of this life. And I've had the pleasure of interviewing other women on this podcast who, like you, decided that, and yours was a little bit different, but this particular one was like, the corporate, I'm just on a a hamster wheel, and she just decided to pursue writing. And so it's just great to see. I don't know if a little bit if the pandemic had to do with some of the inspiration that I'm seeing from a lot of people, but I think a lot of people are grasping their own life into their own hands, really, 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 and just really questioning, am I doing what feels good and right for me? And it may mean I have to totally leave, come to the conclusion like you. I've done this. It pleased me for a very long time. I'm done with this. I want to do something else, so it's good to see that people are thinking about themselves for once, because we all get into a trap to where we're all busy and thinking about others all the time and not really reflecting on ourselves.
No, and I agree
Yeah.
with you. I think the pandemic played a huge role in that, because all of a
Yes.
sudden you're kind of trapped in your house and you suddenly realize like you can't do anything. And when you can't do anything, you're like, wow, what would I like to be doing? Like, what would it be
Yes.
meaningful for me to do when this is all over? And
Yes.
hopefully it's
Yes.
coming to an end. But
Yes, hopefully it's coming to an end, but it's just brought a whole new perspective to life, really, actually. Now, you're both of you see, you've got 3 books. One was middle grade, the 2 are adult contemporary fiction. So, where do you go from here? Are you going to, there's some people that's just solidly in one genre. Do you think you're going to write another book of another genre? Where are you going from here?
yeah, I don't know. I just started working on another book, and it is women's fiction again,
Okay.
contemporary
Okay.
fiction. I don't know. It seems like I'm most comfortable there. I mean, I would love to do another middle grade. I thought it was really fun, but even just with things like getting the word out, it's so much easier for me, at least, with the adult fiction, because at least you have friends, you have people you
Yes.
can hope that they'll want to pick up the book. Like, I don't have friends with kids that age
Yeah.
anymore. My kids
Right,
are
right,
grown, so it's just kind of
right.
it's been it's just been really hard, and it's more satisfying when you feel like you can get something out there. So
Exactly, exactly. Now, one thing that I like reading, historical fiction is my favorite genre. But one thing that I like to read, and I haven't caught a good group of these in a while, but I like to read trilogies. And I haven't gotten a hold of one of, a good one in a while. And I'm like, is that something that you would write? Do you think you could, uh, and I'm not a writer like that. So do you think you would ever grasp onto a character that you cared for so much that you would take she probably typically, to 3 different books?
yeah, I don't know. I mean, a few people have asked me about the books that I've written. Is there a sequel? Is there
Yeah.
more? And I can't imagine getting back into the mindset enough to be able to write another book about that person. Like, I kind of feel like once their story is kind of wrapped up, it's kind of wrapped up, and they all kind of end in a way where you totally could continue them, but
Right.
it's hard to imagine just going back there. Like, you feel like I feel more like I'm moving forward when I start something new.
Got you, got you. And one last question I would like to ask you, and it's related to writing, but totally not involved per se with any particular book. But how do you come up with your characters' names? I'm always curious, and I think I might start asking that question to everybody. How do you come up with your characters' names? Is that something that you kind of learned in that writing institute? Is that, how does that come to you? Because a person's name, then has to do with maybe their culture, and then I don't know. It's a whole lot, and it has to fit into the story for a lot of characters. So how do you come up with that?
I think I think for me, I mean, it's always fun to come up with names, because there's things that you can put in there that your readers won't really get, but it's meaningful to you. So, like,
Yes.
I don't know, like, I've done things like I had a character in my first book whose last name was the name of the first boy I went out with when I was 14. And, like, no one
Okay.
else would know that. Like, it's not like I'm in touch with him. He's not reading my book.
Right.
But like,
Right,
you know,
right,
it just was fun for me. Or like I had another character who had the first name of a doctor that I was once very helpful to me. And I just thought,
right.
why not stick that in there? Like it's not, I don't know. So I often just put things in that are meaningful to me. And
Yes.
then I kind of let other people figure out if it means something to them. And
Right.
I think it's
Right, right, right. Wow. Okay, so that is my first answer to a question I've had for quite a while of like, how do people come up with these names? So yeah, so that's all very interesting, and I'm sure everyone has a different take on how they name folks or decide where they want the story to take place and all of these things. Now, I do remember that I said that was going to be my last question, but I do remember being in English class many years ago, and the teacher, when you were writing a story of a particular subject, like a how-to or whatever the theme of the story was, we were taught outlines. So do you do outlines or longhand or just type it out on the computer?
Yeah, I haven't been doing outlines. The first book kind of had like an internal outline because it was following a legal case, so I understood
Okay.
like how it was going to work. But this new book that I just came out with, I really just wrote and let it see where it was going. It's a
Yes.
dual point of view, so it alternates chapters between the female protagonist and the male protagonist. So that
Okay.
gave it some structure, and I
Yes.
knew where it was going, but yeah, I didn't really outline, and I know people do, and I'm kind of jealous of it sometimes. And it would normally be my personality. I'm completely like type A personality. I make lists, I make outlines for everything. But
Yes.
somehow for this, it doesn't work for the writing for me. So, but I could see, especially if you're writing something either like complicated like a mystery,
Yeah.
or complicated like historical fiction, I would kind of see where you would have to maybe outline. But
Right,
the kind of
right.
stuff I write, I think you can get away with a little more freedom in the writing.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I like you. I am so type A that I would think I'd have to have sheets and sheets and notebooks of paper and probably get ultimately confused. But anyway, now what's the title of your latest book again?
Both are true.
Both are true, and we can buy it where?
Anywhere online, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, or you can order it from any local independent bookstore.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so both are true. Make sure you go out and get that book. And Raina, where can we find you online? Your website,
My
your social
website,
media?
yeah, my website is reynamardergentin.com.
Okay.
Hopefully that'll be in the notes. Trying to
Yes.
spell that for you here would not be so easy.
Yeah.
And I'm on everything. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, with some combination of those names. So
Okay. Sounds good. And under your name.
yes.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Raina. I enjoyed speaking with you today. It's always refreshing to talk with folks who just are taking their life by the horns and doing the things that they want to do. I love it. I absolutely love it. And so, hopefully, to keep you on that radar, make sure you check out Raina's books online, and we'll have that information down below. Thanks, Raina.
Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, Bookaholics, I hope you enjoyed another one of our podcasts, and stay tuned. We've got more coming for you.
Thank you for joining the Bookaholic Podcast. We appreciate your support. Remember to subscribe to the podcast, follow us on Instagram at True Bookaholic. You can also email us at readingjunkie@book-a-holic.com. Don't forget to support your local library and independent bookstores.